Broadcasting live from the Zimmer Communications World Headquarters. This is Wake Up Missouri with Stephanie Bell, the Zimmer News Team, and your host, Randy Tobler.
Even if you're not planning to invoke the Insurrection Act, you still plan to send troops?
Well, we're going to have troops everywhere. We're not going to let this happen to our country. We're not going to let our country be torn apart. I mean, if we see danger to our country and to our citizens, we'll be very, very strong in terms of law and order. It's about law and order. If they stand in the way of law and order, yeah, they will face charges. Thank you very much.
Good Monday morning. There's the law and order president of the United States, Donald Trump, on the tarmac before he boards Air Force One, saying, I'm not going to put up with this stuff. Gavin Newsom, the LAPD, they can stand down. I'm not going to. I'm going to protect federal agents and federal detention centers. Welcome into Wake Up Missouri. Another busy weekend, another busy show today. Hope you can stay with us all morning, Wake Up family. I'm Randy Tobler, Stephanie Bell in, and John Marsh and Drake wearing his St. Louis Rams jersey. We'll have to get some explanation on that one later on. And lots going on, Stephanie. The streets of L.A., it sort of resembles the Summer of Love, BLM, a few years ago. Cars, the Waymo cars, robo-taxis, they're lighting them on fire.
Yeah, the driverless cars. I mean...
Why would you... Okay, so you're a rioter. You want to create mayhem. Why would you take it out on a robo-taxi? What's the point?
I mean, why are you rioting in the first place? And
then I'm watching one of the news feeds last night, and there's this woman who's doing a bubble thing. She's got a bubble wand, and she's doing right in the middle of the street doing a bubble wand. I'm convinced that this generation of anarchists, and there's a large number of young people that are like this, they're rudderless. They have no hope. They have despondence. They have nothing to do. So they go out and they blow bubbles and blow up robo-taxis, and they throw bricks at cops' cars. There can't be...
Yeah, to be fair, most people weren't blowing bubbles.
I know, but it tells you something about this is a social event for many people, right? It's like Drake. Drake, I mean, you tell me. I mean, there must be a significant contingent of people in your generation and maybe a little older who think that this is a big social event, and this is a way to maybe get. This is the same as putting a ring in your eyelid or on your nipple or something. I don't know. It's like it's a personal statement. It's what the hell? Why are you blowing bubbles in the middle of a riot?
Well, I mean, who hasn't learned a little bit of Arabic to get into the Palestine riots and meet some girls there? I mean, oh yeah, I hate Israel.
Well, you wonder. It becomes a hookup event. I don't know. No, I can't explain it. Maybe they're doing the same mushrooms that Elon's doing. I don't know.
Maybe, but
Elon.
With ketamine, sorry, mushrooms, ketamine.
He did mushrooms.
He's done everything. I mean, he's talked about it. He's smoking marijuana on the Joe Rogan show. I mean, I think this Elon's a perfect example. God love him. Well, this is genius mixed with drugs, and you get unleashed, out of control behavior like that.
I thought it was interesting because last night I saw a photo and they said local governments matter. And there was a picture of where I was this weekend in Nashville at CMA Fest. Jelly Roll sang, and he talks a lot about the changes he's made in life. And they did some sort of light thing so there was a big cross above a Nissan stadium with 60,000 people. And then there was side by side the picture of the guy waving, I think it was the Mexican flag. Was it Mexican flag over the car? And they said local governments matter. And I thought Nashville's not exactly a conservative city. Like, it's pretty blue, but at the same time, I mean, Tennessee is different than California. And I thought, I think where you live matters. And I think we can blame it on the folks who are rioting, but I think the leaders in California deserve a lot of the blame.
Well, Nashville though, isn't the guy from Big and Rich or someone, doesn't he make booze and he's got a nightclub there? I mean, he's red as can be. Right? He's Patriot. Aren't there a lot of...
Yeah, but it's still,
Well, it's a big city.
Yeah.
Why are big cities by definition blue? Or it just seems that's the way they turn.
Yeah.
The bigger they get, the more they turn. Columbia's turned blue. Springfield's turning blue. From what I hear. I don't know.
Yeah.
It's really weird. When large groups of people get together, it seems like, blueness happens. Everyone turns blue. I don't get it. And then we've got the Riley Gaines, Simone Biles dust up. I mean, Riley Gaines, makes a statement about the Minnesota trans pitcher who pitches a shutout on the way to the girls softball championship, a male. I don't know what's her name. What's his name? His name is Marissa. I don't know. And then Simone Biles, goes after Riley Gaines, and then it comes out yesterday that Simone Biles said something back a few years ago. Well, I'm sure glad that guys aren't competing against gals, because that one she'd have never won. I mean, do people really think about what it does to their reputation and how stupid they look when they say things like that? I mean, I just don't get it. It's just amazing how people will not think through before they say something, which never happens on this program. Glad never happens on this program.
Riley Gaines' response, I think, is really strong, and I even heard an update from her late last night that she had been hearing a lot from various Olympians, both inside gymnastics and in other sports, of just a lot of support for her position and saying, yeah, at this highest level, like, I'm so glad I don't have to compete against men, and talking about how there have been apparently some other issues with Simone Biles, which she said, I'm not going to get into that, but telling us that she's heard from a lot of folks and said, yeah, we're on your side.
Unpack this. Brief background on me: outspoken Christian, outspoken conservative, outspoken Trump supporter, outspoken advocate for keeping men out of women's sports, which is just about the least controversial take on the entire planet. But because of that take, Simone Biles posted this on X, like literally out of the blue. I'm going to assume that she said I looked like a man because I'm relatively muscular. I'm not overly tall. I'm 5'5", which maybe seems like a giant to someone who's 4'8", but I'm assuming it's because I have muscles. This was crazy to me coming from her. Number one, because I've admired her for so long. She is the best of the best in her sport, bar none. But secondly, this came from a woman who's experienced so much scrutiny because of her muscular stature. It didn't take me long to find this video of Simone Biles.
I'm Simone Biles, and I love my body. It helps with gymnastics, and it teaches younger girls to love their bodies as well. I got made fun of for my arms a lot. Some people would say mean things. They used to call me a soldier. At the time, it didn't make me feel the best, so I wore sweaters or jackets all year long. To body shamers, let me see. I feel like if you love your body, then that's all you can do, so it doesn't matter what anybody else says. So I think they have to learn to fall in love with themselves. And I think it's out of jealousy sometimes.
Crazy, she's been a part of all of these body positivity campaigns and even explicitly sent a message to body shamers and then body shame me.
Yeah, she did.
Wild.
What is all the dust up between celebrity? We have Trump and Musk and Biles and Gaines. I mean, next thing you know, Whitman and Marsh are going to go at it. I don't know. It's like,
he better watch out.
Yeah, I don't know. Oh, that would be the throwdown.
He is wearing a Rams jersey today.
I mean, if that was, you could sell
some vintage stuff there.
You could sell tickets for the Mizzou Stadium, and I think Trump might show up to that one. Put a cage in the middle of that one. Trump and Whitman and Marsh. Oh, that'd be a good one. Love to see that.
That's right.
Yeah,
my judo skills are a little rusty, but we'll see what happens.
Yeah, MMA. I'll fight John Marsh. That'd be fun.
I don't know. I don't know. We can't afford to lose you guys from the show. Hey, the number's 573-874-9390. I think what's telling about this deal in L.A., I think it's another reminder that we still have major pockets of TDS on the one hand, just standing down and absolute approval of illegal immigration on the other. I mean, is there any other way to defend this? And think about it. Talk about an insurrection. This all really got heated over the weekend when the rioters started, getting in front of the detention center, and they wanted to prevent ICE agents from detaining. What I saw was like 10 or 11 of these guys were either convicted or they were and on the lam, or they were charged with serious crimes. I'm talking second-degree murder, abusing minors. I mean, just terrible things. And what is it that what is it on the left? I mean, all of a sudden, they're about the rule of law. These people deserve their day in court. We're a country of law. We're a country that, by the rule of law. Well, what happened on the way in? Do the laws not matter then? They only matter when they want to get out.
And they don't matter now once they're rioting, apparently.
I just don't get. Yeah, right. And you should be allowed to do that. I really think that we need to. Well, I'm glad to hear what Donald Trump said. If you're just joining us, I mean, it was really good to hear that. I think that Trump nailed it.
Series of California officials could face federal charges if they stand in the way of the deportation. Something that Coleman may have suggested.
If officials stand in the way of law and order, yeah, they will face charges. Thank you very much.
I mean, that is the reason Donald Trump got elected. It's black and white. It's crystal clear. Go ahead and protest, hold up your sign, fly your Mexican flag. But I swear, if I saw someone that was flying their Mexican flag and they lived in my neighborhood, I would give them the biggest stink eye every time they saw they
No, if they fly the flag in their neighborhood.
Yeah, I know, but I'm sorry. If you're protesting and you're flying the American flag,
if you're standing on a car that you just
that's what I mean.
Yeah.
No, I don't mean if you're go ahead and fly the. I mean, people fly the Italian flag, and there's a place in St. Louis called The Hill where they play bocce ball and they fly. I'm talking about in the context of that. You know, if you're burning a car, standing on, looking fairly demonic. Did you see that one guy looked sort of demonic, and flying a flag? I'm sorry, you're gone. Bye. Out of here. Gone. I'm sorry. That's where your free speech rights end.
Yeah, when they started setting the Waymos.
Yeah.
Driverless cars on fire. Wasn't there 4 or 5 of them on fire in the midst of all that yesterday?
And while I don't want to see a business person, whoever owns that Waymo's car franchise or whatever, I don't want to see their stuff, ruined. You know what? Bring it on. Keep it up. Keep it up, left. Keep up this violence. That's good. That's good. You're just helping us for the midterms. It's a beautiful thing. I mean, in one way, right? It's a good thing. I hate to see it happening, but... And there's talk that it's going to be happening, and there are organized riots, protests that will turn into riots across the country. And there's a retired law enforcement officer, ex-cop, who says he's got a bead on it. We'll talk about that a little bit at 6:35. Coming up, the Daily DC Rundown with Stephanie.
You're listening to Wake Up Missouri.
understand that they were going to go into the Home Depot, go after day laborers. I mean, these are people who are looking for work. These are not criminals. They're looking for work. And so protesters came out. It started peacefully. Then we had federal officers, doing the tear gas, shooting out pellets.
Federal officers, you mean ICE?
ICE, yes. And they were shooting pellets. And, people were there to protest. They're there to protest the mass deportations that are happening. And so it was peaceful.
Well, there you go. Oh, boy, I don't know. Here's Stephanie Bell to try to explain this on the Daily DC Rundown.
It was peaceful, Randy.
It was peaceful.
So we saw that. You saw the pictures. I mean, after all of the...
Don't believe your lying eyes.
After all of what Democrats have been through lately, and then this latest with Biden, and the message from Republicans have been like, you're lying to us. And we saw, him declining with our very own eyes, and you told us everything's cool. To see this, yesterday... It's peaceful. Like, we've seen the photos, not peaceful. And so Gavin Newsom is real mad because Trump signed a memo Saturday ordering 2,000 National Guardsmen to Los Angeles County. That's the first time since 1965 that the National Guard's been activated in the state without the request first coming from the governor. So the governor has now said, ask Pete Hegseth to rescind that order. I don't think they're going to do it based on Trump's comments yesterday.
No.
They got to get that under control.
So the National Guard is in. The Marines are staged. That's where we're at right now?
I believe that's correct. The president, and on the heels of this riot, what we know is, Randy, I think you went over the polling numbers just here recently, and the president is way ahead when it comes to things like border security and crime. And so I think the people are going to stick with him on this, and I think they want, that's what we voted for, was law and order and a closed border. And I think people, I was kind of surprised to see how violent this got over the weekend.
I mean, it's amazing, and overnight they were worried it might escalate. I guess it hasn't. Maybe the National Guard troops actually made a difference. Wow.
Let's hope so. All right. Well, there's a big meeting today. President Trump announced that he and Scott Bessent and Howard Lutnick are going to be in London today, talking with Chinese officials. Of course, they are going to be talking about things like rare earth minerals and the magnets that are in them. China wants U.S. to lift the restrictions on buying jet engines and other technology products. So we'd heard kind of for a long time that, they're going to have a meeting. Yeah. And then they're going to have a phone call, I think, like sometime last week. And then for a minute, because we didn't hear about the phone call, it's like, when is this phone call happening? Well, it happened late last week. And this meeting in London's happening pretty quickly. Of course, Trump, I think, was at Camp David over the weekend. So I think important talks happening. We'll see. And then, of course, we have to remember that Trump is still not very happy about the whole TACO acronym. So whether he will, back off some of these China tariffs, and I'm sure that's in the back of his mind as he goes forward with this meeting this morning. Also, something to know today, Trump's travel ban into the U.S. On those 12 countries goes into effect today. Another thing I'm watching is, what does Doge look like following the departure of Elon Musk? Congress says it is going to start implementing some of those cuts, and the efforts of Doge are going to continue. Johnson said he wants the House to act quickly on Trump's request for more than $9 billion in cuts. That's mainly to foreign aid and to public broadcast funding. He said they're hoping that package hits the floor this week. And of course, they've been all consumed by the big, beautiful bill. And so it's nice to see maybe them taking up some of these other priorities. And of course, they're going to need to take up some of those cuts if they're going to continue to spend like they appear to be wanting to do in this big, beautiful bill. So again, that original deadline was to get it done or get it to Trump by July 4th. That is looking less and less likely. They are in the Senate taking a kind of a different strategy. Thune is saying it's being reported that he's going to convene these small working groups to try to work on some of the issues that the senators have problems with. It's being reported that the reductions in Medicaid and the cuts to the Supplemental Nutrition Assistance Program, that SNAP, are going to be the subjects of some of these working groups if those go on. Also, the DNC is a mess. Apparently, they're trying to figure
That's
out...
That's news.
Yeah. They're trying to figure out if somebody raised an objection to an election of some of their leadership. That's including David Hogg. So they are going to be having an electronic vote this week about like whether they should re-vote, I think.
That's the Daily DC Rundown. At 6:35, what did J.D. Vance say to Frederick Douglass when he said, well, you'll hear that when we come back.
Has America been fair to Donald Trump? The people
Program note, Scott Fawn joins us at 7:08. Captain Douglas Ernest, who has a really neat business. He was in Operation Desert Storm. He's got a neat business named Corvette Warehouse. I may need to go visit him. I think he's in Texas. Love Corvettes. It's on my bucket list, but I don't think Helene will ever let me have one. I don't know. And
I had one.
Did you have one?
It was an absolute piece of junk.
Oh, really? Well, the new ones look like Batmobiles. Have you seen those things?
Yeah.
Like 2 inches
Gary
off
Nolan had one and didn't have the greatest of luck with it.
Oh, really? How does Gary Nolan, as tall as he is, fit into a
That's a good point.
Fit into a Corvette? Man.
He's in his Benz now.
Yeah. Did he get rid of his Corvette?
Yeah, he did.
Oh, man. Why didn't he talk to me? I could have satisfied checked that off on the bucket list.
There you go.
But he's going to talk with us, being an Army vet, and I'm just curious what Army people, if you're retired or if you're active military, maybe you have someone, what do you think about being called out without the request of the governor to keep the peace in a place like L.A.? I mean, there is some controversy over that. Talk about the president maybe invoking, that is so rich, invoking the Insurrection Act to bring in the military. It would be the first time that military was brought in, like Marines. The National Guard's been brought in before, but at the request of the governor. This time it was against the request of the governor.
Yeah, I think so. I struggle a little bit because Gavin Newsom's point is just that, like state sovereignty, federalism kind of thing, which is weird coming from him. But, I think as small government conservatives, I'm on that team, right? Like if we can do it at the local level or at the state level, I prefer that. And I prefer the federal government out of Missouri's business. But I think in certain circumstances, and so I've been trying to ask myself and grapple with where do you draw that line? Like, when is it okay and when is it not okay? We saw this year, in the legislature, the state taking more control over the St. Louis police, and here we see President Trump saying, "Hey, we're going to come in." And so I think maybe where we draw the line is law and order, like safety, right? I think.
Especially when it comes to federal buildings and federal agents, right?
That's fair, yes.
I mean, I think that to me was the tipping point. This was, they really started getting inflamed and escalating outside the detention center, and ICE agents felt threatened, and Border Patrol people, right?
Right.
I mean,
right.
That's where I think it changes for me. I agree with you otherwise, yeah. But at some point, someone has to be the adult in the room, and in this case, it's Donald Trump. I think right off his successful adult in the room, mostly, dust up with Elon Musk. I mean, there was he got a little bit down into the mud, but I think I wish him well. He said at one point, I wish him well. Bye-bye. He's not going to take a call from Elon. Elon tried to come crawling back, make a call. Was it Friday or Saturday morning? And not going to have any of this. Now, it's fun to see our leaders get immersed in popular culture once in a while. And J.D. Vance was on Theo Vaughn. He's got a big podcast, right? Isn't Theo big podcaster?
Yes.
I don't listen to him. Who is he? Is he just a nobody?
I think he originally got famous on The Real World, right? Or Road Rules, on MTV. I don't know. But his podcast is huge, and Vance has been on Theo Vaughn before.
Who is he? Is he just a guy that's got a microphone?
He was a stand-up comedian for a while.
Okay.
I think
he was on MTV too.
Yeah.
Okay, all right.
And,
that weird game show.
Real
they
World
used to
and
do.
Road Rules. I'm pretty sure.
Yeah, I know. I watched all those. And
that's the one. Yeah.
He ate. I mean, he just ate on those things. Here, this is a fun little exchange, and interestingly, when you watch this, I mean, the audio is funny enough, but you could just tell that JD's a little bit uncomfortable, but I think he manages it pretty well. It's a little bit longer, but listen to this.
What's on their mind? Yeah, that's a good thing.
Yeah, that's a great point, man. Dude, I'll tell you this. I heard that Frederick Douglass. I heard Frederick Douglass was gay. And I'll tell you, I swear.
Who told you that?
I've heard it from probably almost 15. Not 15 people. I've heard it from 4 people.
Where do you go to find the people who tell you that Frederick Douglass is gay?
Look, I'll tell you this.
You must hang out more interesting places than I do.
It wasn't white people that told me.
Really?
So out of the gate, I have given a little bit more credibility. And that's why he wanted to free all those men, because he was having trouble meeting anybody.
Is that right?
Because everybody was at work.
That's I'm going to talk.
J.D. Vance, congratulations, dude. Congratulations.
Man. We're going to talk to the Smithsonian about putting up an exhibit on that. And Theo Von, you can be the narrator for this new this new understanding of the history of Frederick Douglass.
Dude, no, congratulations.
You have such a dry sense of humor.
And that's true. Like, sometimes you can't tell whether Theo Von is messing with you or whether he's, like, stone cold serious, which I think is part of his allure.
Yeah. And he didn't crack a smile. He maintained, he was, like, totally serious.
Oh, yeah. He
was great.
He's very good.
And I think that is, that's a little bit of a immersion into the popular culture and into places that previously Republicans wouldn't go. Right? Republicans just wouldn't go. Republicans wouldn't go on Joe Rogan, but that was part of Trump's secret sauce in this last election cycle.
Yeah, I mean, I love J.D. Vance, and I'm gonna be the first to say I like him more than Trump. I think I'm starting to like him more than Trump. I could see him definitely running in 2028. I mean, he has been like really smart on all fronts. He is a very well-spoken, well-prepared, great with the media. He will always had, especially in the election cycle, he had those like little clips where he was roasting the media. But then he goes on here and starts talking about having a gay Frederick Douglass exhibit. Like this, nothing's better than this. I'm sorry, Trump, but you got to one-up him.
Yeah, I mean, I think it's really effective. And people like that. They like that sort of seeing real people. I mean, remember the post where he's making biscuits with his kids? It was just really genuine, authentic. Yeah, on Saturday mornings we make biscuits. It was just fun.
I think they want you to be relatable, and Democrats have tried that. We saw, what was it, Schumer, was he out, like, grilling burgers, and it was, like, raw meat with cheese on it, and you're like, you have clearly never grilled a burger in your life. And so I think JD...
Just like them rare.
Yeah, he seems authentic. And what was Tashara Jones in her mayoral campaign, and they're like, where do you like to go? And she, like, named some chicken place, and they're like, that place has been closed for, like, 2 years.
I know.
And so I think people are ready to call people out on stuff like that. But I mean,
remember Kamala with the fake cell phone?
Yeah.
Remember she's on the cell phone, and, it couldn't have been real because you were hearing Michelle and Barack, and
And I think it's rare to find someone with the like intellectual and ability of J.D. Vance, who's that smart, who's that into politics, but is also like can completely be like culturally aware as well. And so I think it's great.
Yeah, and at the same time, while you're having him being lighthearted and laughing at something that could be, I mean. In this environment, in this media environment, in this political environment, the media, someone's going to pick up on that and say, oh, look at that racist making fun of the freed slaves being gay and, hooking up with Frederick Douglass. You know what I mean? But he just laughs and sort of like, come on, man.
And a lot of people would have gotten super awkward and he just kind of like, I'm going to see how I can spin this to like not say anything, to, like not affirm this and not shut Theo down, but
Well, and I guess Exhibit A in terms of media TDS syndrome is this senior national correspondent for ABC News that has been he's been suspended because he tweeted the thing about Stephen Miller is not about not that he has the brains behind Trumpism. Yes, he is one of the people who conceptualizes the impulses of the Trumpist movement. But that's not what's interesting. It's not brains, it's bile. He's a man who is richly endowed with the capacity for hatred. He's a world-class hater. And on it goes. And he uses the hate word, 5 or 6 times. Well, White House, came down on him, and here's what our friend Caroline Levitt had to say.
Well, ABC is going to have to answer for what their, again, so-called journalist put out on Twitter in the wee hours of the night, calling Stephen Miller vile. They said that President Trump is a world-class hater. And this is, again, coming from someone who is supposed to be an unbiased and professional journalist. This is unacceptable and unhinged rhetoric coming from someone who works at a major television network. We have reached out to ABC. They have said they will be taking action. So we will see what they do.
Well, and they did. They suspended him. And I think we have to distinguish between a commentator, right, an opinion person on the media, whether it's written or broadcast, and a journalist. I mean, this is a senior national correspondent. You would not expect, in the days of Chet, the Huntley-Brinkley report, right? You wouldn't expect those people to do that. Walter Cronkite, I mean, he would lay out the news. He may have had it. It came out that a lot of those guys were probably on the liberal side of the fence, and that's okay. I don't care about that. Just if you're a news reporter, you should stick to that and be very careful about what you post on that. On the other hand, opinion's opinion. That's fine. But so ABC immediately took action on that, and that's good to see. But again, it's late. It's just too late. And but again, as we need to get into these midterms, hopefully we're going to get something done. Whether the bill is big and beautiful as we'd like, we need to get something done there. Certainly, the tax increases need to stay in place. The tax increases need to be squashed. We cannot have tax increases. The tax cuts from 2017 need to stay in place. We need to have some movement towards spending cuts. It's clearly not enough. Rand Paul, Ron Johnson were all over the media this week saying that. But it's a start. So you put that together with the craziness and the validation of violence in places like L.A., and I would predict that this week we'll probably be seeing more of it. We'll be seeing it in Tampa and other big cities. I heard that there might be something unfolding in Tampa in the next day or two. We'll see about that. And that's good. We need that kind of stuff. I think we, meaning everyday normal American people, need to see just how crazy and deranged the left is, and the left complicit media. I don't know how anyone pays attention to ABC anymore with that kind of behavior. That's ridiculous. So we'll have to see where it goes. When we come back, I got to play the close to that. Did you see the Belmont? I don't normally follow the ponies, but man, the Belmont Stakes, it was an exciting finish. And you love a great performance, whether it's by a horse or by the human. I mean, you just love a great performance, irrespective of who your favorite is. We'll do that when we come back on Wake Up Missouri at 6:52. Stay tuned.
This is
So did anyone watch the race on Saturday? Not Stephanie. She was where were you, in Nashville?
Yep.
It's some big festival, right?
CMA Fest. Yes.
CMA Fest, and you didn't see Morgan Wallen, but you saw everyone else in Nashville, right?
Not everyone.
Well, a lot of big stars there.
4 days of shows, but yeah, we saw the Red Clay Strays and Megan Maroney and Rascal Flatts and Blake Shelton and Trace Atkins and I don't know, a lot of people.
You know, all that diet.
And Dina Carter, who sings Strawberry Wine. You know.
Oh man, I'm sorry I missed that.
Come on.
Who?
Oh, sheesh.
Who? Ellen Carter? Who?
Dina Carter. She sings Strawberry Wine.
What is Strawberry Wine?
We'll pull
like Annie Green
chart
Springs?
topper on the country charts.
Yes,
how many years ago?
for
Like
real.
Annie Green Springs, that kind of Strawberry
She's
Wine?
like your age, Randy. He didn't appreciate it.
Journalism makes a decisive move with a quarter of a mile to go, and he takes command of the Belmont Stakes. Sovereignty angles out to try and run him down. It's a rematch of the Kentucky Derby as they come to the 8th bull, and here comes...
Now, they're on the home stretch. There's like maybe 100 meters to go, and Sovereignty is a full length behind Journalism, and I've never seen the surge is unbelievable.
And Peter Thiel's pick for the win got the show out of it.
Yeah.
Nice.
I mean,
Took third.
It's amazing.
Asa.
Sovereignty goes right by Journalism once again, leaving absolutely no doubt who the best 3-year-old in the world is. Sovereignty and Junior Alvarado.
Wow. I mean, it was so...
Yeah, I saw the highlights. It was like, whoa.
I mean, that surge at the end, it's like, have you ever been on the freeway and, you know, maybe it's 70 miles an hour and you're trucking at 75, 78? That's for me, that's pushing it. If I do 75, that's pushing it.
Mm-hmm.
And, no, seriously. And, no, I'm not kidding. Drake, why are you looking at me like that?
I will not admit to going faster, but I'm surprised that you think that's fast.
That's fast. I get nervous if it's anything over 74. Because I figure, you know, tire size, if you have a little different tire size, it might make your speedometer look different and stuff, you know. But 74, I mean, you're barely keeping up with the traffic flow in most places.
That's fair.
Right? And
Unless you were on I-70 this weekend, and then we were going about 20.
There's a danger to not keeping up with the traffic flow. So you try to find okay. But, I mean, it's like one of those when someone just passes you up like you're standing still and you're going 75 miles an hour. That's what this looked like. It looked like Journalism just came up with a limp and clearly wasn't.
Yeah.
But it was unbelievable.
Sovereignty was on fire.
Oh, man, that was just so exciting. It was just a great performance. And you wonder if Sovereignty would have run at the Preakness, maybe wouldn't have won that, or would have, but then maybe couldn't have been so strong at the Belmont. Maybe I don't know. Wonder how that, well, next time Peter's on, we'll have to talk with him about whether that affects a horse's straw value, you know, as a stud. I mean, if you only win 2 of the Triple Crown and not the 3, is there that much of an interval difference for winning 2 out of 3?
Sure there is. You know, a champion's a champion.
Yeah.
I mean, I like horse racing, but mainly for like the food and the drinks and the outfits.
Yeah. I was going to ask you, so
hats.
Down in Nashville at the CMA Fest, you know, I've talked to you, Stephanie, about how that Diet Coke will ruin your microbiome. You didn't drink too much Diet Coke, did you? Or
I did not drink too much Diet Coke, but I found a new product that might pass your test, Randy, actually.
Really? What was it?
Have you ever had a Liquid Death?
Liquid Death?
Yeah, it's the most fascinating branding ever because all it is canned water.
Oh,
but it kind of looks like a
very gothic looking stuff.
Yes. And so I've had the water. They have sparkling water. They had a lime one. They've got a mango one.
Yeah.
My sister had new stuff this weekend, and it's called Dr. Death.
Dr. Death.
That
sounds like it. Don't talk to John and I about that. Sounds like embalming fluid.
It tastes just like a Dr. No, but it tastes like a Dr. Pepper.
Really?
But it's water. It's the craziest thing.
It's water, but it tastes
water.
like...
And I said,
wow.
this could be my soda replacement. I haven't found anything yet. It's that good.
I have had a Dr. Death, or of death water, because, well, I've had a death water. You know what? Everyone out there has the Casey's app, you know, and you get the special offers. And I think there was like a free death water one. Once in a while, there's a free offer at Casey's with the free thing. I save those. I use those now and then. I think I had one. It's a big, weird-looking can. I felt sort of odd drinking it. It felt out of character for me, but it but it tasted like water. It just tasted like plain old water. I thought, who's going to pay $3 for a can of water with gothic graphics on there?
Guilty.
All about the marketing.
Well, and I think like if you're out on,
Stephanie
I think
raises her hand.
if you're out on a boat, like I'd much rather be drinking out of a cold can than like a bottle of water. So I love it for summertime.
The cold, you like cans rather than water than bottles.
Plastic bottles, yes.
Plastic,
You don't want to take glass on your boat.
No, and with a plastic bottle, I let some plastic bottle of water heat up in my car the other day. Not good. Back with Scott Fawn in just a minute.
Zimmer Communications World Headquarters. This is Wake Up Missouri with Stephanie Bell, the Zimmer News Team, and your host, Randy Tobler.
Welcome back into the second hour of Monday's Wake Up Missouri, 573-874-9390, the number. Glad you're joining us. Scott Vaughn joins us now as the House joins the special session festivities in Jefferson City. Scott, I know a Monday morning is bad enough, but when the Dodgers take the Cardinals 7-3, it's extra bad, isn't it?
We took the series, though. I mean, it's a little silver lining on that. They played well. I was at the game yesterday.
Were you?
And yeah, they got beat, but we brought a guy up for his first start of the year. I was pretty impressed by the whole thing.
And they're second.
On the weekend overall, I should say.
They're second in the Central, right? I mean, so they're hanging in there.
Well, second is good for other franchises, but I mean, I've always thought they'd be somewhere 5-6 games over 500, and that's pretty well where they are. They're a little better than that actually right now.
Yeah.
I think that's what they'll do, and I think there'll be a lot of folks that think that's great, and real Cardinal fans will see it as another complete failure.
What was this about? Kershaw said it's a little bush league, but I don't expect anything less from these guys. So it's no worries.
Well, Clayton Kershaw has a long history of losing to the Cardinals in October, and one of the best highlights is a Matt Adams home run off him, maybe 14, something like that, 12, 13, something like that. They played the highlight in the pregame stuff, and I guess it hurt his little precious baby feelings.
I thought it was
people just made of weaker stuff.
That was a pretty cute deal, though. It was a good play.
Yeah.
All right, so I mean, it's in a way you could say that the Fawn Marmol dust-up has been a little bit like the Trump-Musk thing. I mean, I know you guys were bros for a while, but you've been a little bit tough on him the last couple of years.
Well, actually, Donald Trump has won things, so it wouldn't be like that at all.
Are you feeling a little more affection for Marmol? He's having a better year than you would have predicted. No?
I predicted he'd be about 5 or 6 games over 500. It was a good team.
Not good enough.
I thought they'd middle through, and he'd make a bunch of excuses and whine. And then all the St. Louis sports media, who I guess he returns their text, would say, oh, my God, we are 6 games over 500. This team is ready to roar. And real Cardinal fans would be like, we're keeping this guy for a 5th season of failure? My God.
Hey, Scott, I want to ask you about the Freedom Caucus dust-up. We heard over the weekend, I believe. So Rick Bratton voted for the stadium deal. He was the previous leader of the Freedom Caucus, or chairman. Took some heat from Bill Eigel and some other Freedom Caucus folks, and now it's being announced Nick Shore is going to lead the Freedom Caucus. What do you have to say about that?
I think most of the Freedom Caucus is a way for trial attorneys to protect their ability to file lawsuits, and it's guised in a bunch of rah-rah Facebook talk. I think Rick Bratton came back to Jefferson City this year as a different senator. He was there to get things done. He was there to accomplish stuff. I think Rick Bratton had spent literally half a Senate term complaining with really not much but stopping a landfill to show for it. He came back ready to play. He's one of the leading senators. He's a person that's talked about being a Senate leadership down. I don't fully understand the deal he made on the vote for the stadium proposals, but I think he was looking to get things done. And that's just Freedom Caucus is not exactly conducive with accomplishing a lot.
Because ultimately, 4 Freedom Caucus folks voted against the stadium package? Is that right?
Well, I don't think Jill Carter was ever in it. Brad Hudson is in it, was in it. Rick Bratton was in it, was the leader for sure. Those two voted for it. I guess the 2 St. Charles County folks or the Freedom Caucus folks now. Maybe Hudson's still in it. I don't know, but. Really, it's kind of a way for trial attorneys to build a wall of protection around their ability to file lawsuits. Whether if you agree with those or not, you can determine if it's good or not. But essentially, it is it's kind of a thing that trial attorneys pay to elect allies, and they wrap it in a bunch of other rah-rah talk. I think it's very hard to be in a caucus in the Senate. Really, in all honesty, there's 34 Senate caucuses. When you're a senator, you're on your own. You make your own decisions. Being part of a caucus just abrogates that to another group. I've never been a big fan of any of the caucuses inside the Senate. To me, you're a senator. Handle your business. You don't need to go be part of any caucus. I don't understand why the Republicans caucus so much together. They're senators. 33 conversations will pass a bill. Go have it. Do the work. Don't be lazy.
Scott Vaughn, publisher of the Missouri Times and host of This Week in Missouri Politics, joins us on Wake Up Missouri on this Monday morning. Scott, let me ask you about the House meeting today. And, of course, we saw the Senate did their deal, and so now it's in the chamber for the House. Do you suspect much drama, or is this going to be pretty much a chip shot and they all get together and have a kumbaya and it's all done?
If I'm John Patterson, Alex Riley, Dirk Deaton, I show up in town kicking the door in. This is an incredible deal for them. They got every possible thing they would want. I mean, the Senate just completely caved, rolled over, bowed, bent the knee, whatever you want to say. I mean, the Senate, it was bizarre. I've never seen a Missouri State Senate crawl like this one did during the special session. I mean, they took orders from the Speaker and the Governor and did not push back at all. I mean, it was one of the most bizarre special sessions I've ever seen, of just the Senate, frankly, being totally irrelevant. The House was able to pull one over on the budget. There was no response. They PQ'd the Democrats twice. No response. I mean, if the Senate doesn't impact public policy at all, didn't make a sound. I don't really know why Missourians paid their per diem, unless you lived on I-70, the nuclear reactor, some storm damage, a stadium for Royals fans. I'm just kidding. A stadium for the Royals fan. I don't know why the taxpayers of my area paid for Jason Bean to be there. Nothing at all happened for you. By I-70, Cole County got the shaft. I don't know why Senator Bernstein was there, if you want the truth. Not one thing was produced for Cole County or anywhere that wasn't directly on I-70. Again, why did the folks at Chili Coffee pay for Rusty Black to be there? I really don't know.
Talk to us a little bit. You mentioned Alex Riley. He's announced he wants to run for Speaker. Talk to us about him and his potential going forward.
Alex Riley is a really bright dude, a really big brain. He will be Speaker. I mean, after the House, every House member since the beginning of time's complaint is dealing with the Senate. Well, the Patterson-Riley crew has the Senate totally whipped. I mean, just exactly where they want them. The roles have reversed. The House is now dominating the Senate. The end of session and special session are very much proof of that. If you're a House member, why wouldn't you want to play on the team that actually beats the Senate? I think he'll cruise to victory. I don't think he'll have any serious opposition. You could have a Justin Sparks type situation, but it won't matter. Alex Riley will be overwhelmingly elected. He'll come in with a head of steam. And I think there's some big things. It'll be interesting to see if Kehoe goes for the plan to go to zero next year, or if he gets it done. But I think 27, you're looking at a big-time school reformer with a governor who will be ready to do school reform by the time he's Speaker. And I think he'll be the Speaker that passes that.
Scott, I know that we just had Vivek Malik on the air with us the other day and talked to him about the Most Scholars program. We saw that advance on, but both sides, public and private educationers, say they're still ready for a fight when they come back. What do you think?
Oh, I mean, I don't know how public education is ready for a fight. They actually don't fight. It's part of their problem. To them, a fight means publishing another study that no one will read. Now, the charter school folks, they have their study people that no one cares about either. They have big donors, and the politicians are going to care about the big donors infinitely more than a study. I mean, let's be honest, John. They don't read the studies. They don't even know what's in them. They didn't even read the first page of them. Whether it's charter school people, Show Me Institute studies, whether it's public school studies, it's all irrelevant. It's all just paper thrown into the void. They care about campaign contributions. They also care about a growing number of parents who've dealt with their superintendents. I called mine my corn man when I dealt with Aaron Doctor. I'm sorry, you got to call him Doctor. Even though if someone has a heart attack, you still call the cops or the paramedics. The truth is, people have had their moments with those superintendents, and they're done, and they're ticked. And I don't care what you do next. You've got to do something different than you have now. And I think that's where a lot of Missouri parents, especially Republican primary voters, which are the folks that make public policy in this state, we'll see about the fight. I think the fight's over. I think the only hope for public education to keep charters down was to have Mike Kehoe not win, because your only hope and prayer was to bring somebody in that would fight it out and attack the legislature and bog everything down. Mike Kehoe's a winner. He's shown that he knows how to make government actually produce. Whether you like what he's producing or not, Mike Kehoe knows how to win, and I think he'll win on charter schools. I think Missouri will be much more of a traditional school choice state in 2027. And who wants to line up to bet against Mike Kehoe right now?
So, Scott, let's drill down on Mike Kehoe's initiative to modify the funding formula and everything. What do we know about the membership of this working group that he has, this committee? And can listeners influence that process, or is it all going to be a behind closed doors thing? How's this all going to unfold?
Have you ever seen a Blue Ribbon Commission that really mattered? Because I haven't. I don't suspect this one will matter all that much. But I will tell you this. I will say this. He put Don Thalhuber on there, put Casey Wasser on there. And there's a collection of serious people. Don Thalhuber is the smartest person about public policy that I could text in my phone. Thalhuber's the man. Now he is smart, dude. He's from Columbia. He's a Senate staffer. Don Thalhuber is just really smart. Casey Wasser, he actually knows how to run a business, make things work. There's some really bright people. My gut tells me the the Democrat he put on there was Representative Marlene Terry, the only Democrat to vote for school choice. He knows what he wants this committee to produce. They will produce something like what he wants. Then I think he'll go sell it to the legislature. I mean, Mike Kehoe just got the Missouri State Senate to pass a tax subsidy for stadiums. I think that would actually be harder than a school choice bill. Look, the traditional schools are going to fight it and complain, but I think they've been so obstinate to change for so long on anything that they've just kind of become irrelevant to this. Mike Kehoe will have his Blue Ribbon Commission produce the report he wants, and he will pass it to the General Assembly, and he will win. Who wants to take the other side of that? Yeah. I don't think anybody does at this point.
No, and there sure is a lot of pressure. I think people are in contact with their friends and relatives across the fruited plains, and all of the truly free choice public education choice states out there are putting pressure on Missourians to get moving. Let's make choice a reality.
The public schools, there's a lot of people that like public schools. If you polled it, more people like a public school in a rural area. But the political pressure is just overwhelming. And look, when Kehoe won something, show me the time he's failed.
Yeah, he sure succeeded in this special session so far. We'll see what happens, and we'll talk to you next week about goings on in JC. Thanks a lot, Scott.
Yes, sir.
When we come back, make Missouri healthy again. Some guidelines for screen time for your kids. 7:25.
You're listening to Wake Up Missouri.
In this edition of Make Missouri Healthy Again, maybe we should retitle this unit, Keep Your Kids from Getting Unhealthy with Too Much Screen Time. Chava Treitel, who is a social worker and an Israeli expert on risk behavior in youth, has given some warnings about digital overload in kids and how it rewires the brain. She says she's head of the R&D at Attention Revolution, and they pay a lot of attention to this problem. And she really paints a concerning picture of how screens, particularly those used during early childhood, can fundamentally alter brain development. We know how those first few years are so important, right? We all know that, how important that is in the formative years of a child's life. And the overstimulated brain that comes with the constant digital stimulation, and then as they get a little bit older, the ability to control everything when the world that they're going to deal with as young and older adults is not something they control, can lead to tremendous amount of problems. She says from ages 0 to 6, a child's brain is extremely sensitive, and they respond to sensory input, touch, movement, sound, eye contact, facial expressions. Screens provide artificial stimulation that flood the brain, doesn't allow it to develop the capacity to tolerate boredom or process subtle cues. You wonder if some of these kids, these young people acting out in the streets of L.A. and a couple of years ago in the summer of so-called love during the BLM riots, you wonder if they're just not able to cope with conflict because they haven't been able to develop interpersonal skills. Young children, when they become used to fast-paced, highly stimulating content, their nervous system struggles to adjust to real-life situations, says this social worker and youth risk expert. Then they get into classrooms. They expect the same kind of excitement. They can't deal with the slower pace of real learning. Then they start to see attention disorders. The dopamine surges they get from digital content that's the reward system of the brain, program the brain to seek fast and frequent rewards. You see this in behavior of children. Then there's the physical problems. What about the hunched over posture? What about the lack of activity? What about, by the way, staring at a screen can cause something called accommodative spasm. You know, you should use the 20-20-20 rule. Every 20 minutes, you should stare at something 20 feet away for 20 seconds. I recommend more frequently. Look, or otherwise your eyes will sort of get into this close-up focus mechanism, and then when you have to focus otherwise, it can lead to headaches, and it's a real problem. I know our optometrist and ophthalmologist listening will back me up on that.
If this is what the research says, then why, when my kids walk in a school building, are they immediately handed a screen?
We've had this discussion before. I'm just not sure that it's really healthy because there's a lot of control involving this constant feedback and stimulating more of it, this vicious cycle. The more they want, the more dopamine surge they get, the more they want to do it, the more they control that. Whereas she says TV's a little different because the narrative, the story unfolds more gradually, and it's a different thing than the digital where you control it media rather than the TV controlling what's coming in.
I'm going to push back a little bit because I feel like for most parents, we were doing a really great job until COVID hit, and then we really didn't have a choice.
Yeah.
And so that's where it all went south for me. I will say a good hack. I got one at Turkey Hill this week, and summer camps typically do not allow phones.
There you go.
Or any sort of screen. So I'm thinking, what a great way to get a break.
Kids used to use their imagination to create fun and to learn. Now everything's incoming to them, and worse, they can control it. Be careful about how much screen time your kids use. I'm going to give you those numbers when we come back at 7:35 as far as screen time by age.
I think just local news is like the most
Wait, we're going to be talking with a retired Army captain, served in Desert Storm, and just talk with him about how he feels about, as if he was a National Guardsman or if he was a Marine, but as a military guy, how he would feel going into an urban conflict like L.A. and what that means. There's a lot of conflict. Some people, you mentioned it, Stephanie Bell, you had a little tension about that within yourself, like Trump calling in the National Guard, even though Newsom said absolutely not.
Yeah, ultimately, I think, we talk a lot on this program about wanting the state to have more control and wanting the feds to stay the heck away from Missouri. So I can understand the general instinct to say, wait a minute, like this is a state issue. But I think I draw the line at public safety, right? And you said, federal buildings are implicated. So I think when you've shown that you can't handle your business, that there are times when perhaps it is important for the federal government to step in.
So Capitol building, the Capitol in D.C. is a federal building, right?
It is.
And the Democrats said that the protest that spilled into a storming of the Capitol was an insurrection, right?
Correct.
So a federal detention center in L.A. is a federal building, right?
Right.
So if you have people blocking ICE agents and Customs and Border people doing their duty to detain what have been reported as at least 11 or 12 of them were just heinous criminals, is that not? And they're burning Waymo, the robo-taxi cars.
I saw someone tweet out, who did Waymo deport?
Yeah.
They're not using the Waymos to deport people. Why'd they take it out on Waymo?
That was a pretty slick maneuver. You give it credit to the instigators. It probably wasn't the rank and file protesters, but the instigators had that in their book of tricks and got online and called in the Waymo cars and then set them on fire.
What should happen to those people? That guy that you saw looked very demonic. Guy was very evil, sinister looking, standing on top of it, celebrating, just dancing.
They should be prosecuted. And if they're here illegally, they should be
deported. And what should the penalty be?
Yeah, it's felony property destruction. It's not a misdemeanor.
I think that guy should be forced to work for minimum wage, drying and cleaning up the windshields and whatever happens, when the guys at the end of the car wash, they have the hand towels and they come out. He should do that for about 5 or 10 years.
Good luck.
Monday through Friday. Oh, no, especially on weekends. He should work weekends. That's what he should. Clean up cars that just get it. No, really. There has to be natural consequences that align with the crime. That's what bothers me. I'm sort of an eye for an eye, tooth for a tooth kind of a guy, Don't you? Drake, what do you think?
He should drive a taxi around. That's what he should do. He should be like an Uber driver, but get paid substantially less and not get tips. That's what I say.
Sentence him to being a free Uber driver for 10 years in L.A. during the rush hour.
Hey, I wanted to put a bow on the Make Missouri Healthy Again story because there are some practical tips for parents in terms of screen time guidelines. This expert, who's a social worker in Israel, really concerned about it. She's the R&D director with an outfit that looks at this, an initiative that looks at this kind of thing and risk behavior of youth. You wonder if how many of these people in the streets, whether they're the initial protesters or the anarchists or both, maybe spent too much screen time and do too much screen time. I don't know. Toddlers under 2 bring small toys, books, or sensory objects to places like restaurants or waiting rooms instead of giving a screen. It's tempting for parents to give kids a screen. I know that. I see that a lot.
In a restaurant, though, don't go to a restaurant. I'm sorry.
Right. Yeah.
And if you do, bring headphones, but don't go. It's just if your kid can't sit at a table for an hour and color, do something else.
Jordan Peterson talks about bringing his kids to restaurants as early as possible and teaching them the interactions with adults. And he said, it was a twofold benefit. The kids would learn to watch how others behave and sort of learn from that. But then when they did behave well, and an older person would go, "Wow, you're such a well-behaved young child." That validation was self-reinforcing, and it became to where then they felt comfortable socializing with older people and other people, and they got validation of what proper civil behavior is like.
Yeah, I support that, and making them order themselves and all of that. It's something you have to learn. I know this last week, my son needed something, and we ran to the Dollar General, and my husband took him and said, "You're going in by yourself." And he's like, huh? And he goes, "Well, you know what you need, right? Do you need my help picking it out? Do you have money? you can do it, right? And so I think sometimes we're trying not to be helicopter parents in this age. It's a little bit hard, but again, so I think under 2, I don't know that. And then they make movies just for babies. I don't know what was that one called? Baby Einstein maybe or something.
Mm-hmm.
And it looks like someone on, we bought all those movies and the baby sign language, and I'm like, someone on drugs made this. I think this is worse. It was so
Maybe
weird.
it was Elon Musk
there
creation.
There was one movie and it was just someone filmed it in their basement, and then it was all this stuff from Sharper Image, those weird bubbly things and other things on the screen. And I was like, this is
psychedelic stuff for the baby, huh?
I didn't like it.
So that's wise, though. Don't give them a screen under 2, period. Children up to 12 establish screen-free family rituals. This is up to 12, such as meals or shared activities, and keep phones out of bedrooms. Yep. Teens use the 1-2-3 rule. No phones in the bedroom. Stop screen use 2 hours before bed. Engage in one daily parent-child activity that reinforces self-worth and identity. In other words, not screen time, I think that's good stuff. Most importantly, be the model, says this expert in screen time. And children mirror their parents' behavior. If they see you constantly on the phone, they'll do the same. So I saw the most interesting Snap. What's it called? Snapchat? Is that what it's called? Snapchat?
I don't have it, but sure.
Yeah, is that the little thing? So a lot of that, is that right? It's the little funny yellow blob?
Yes, it's
icon.
Snapchat,
okay.
Randy.
So my kids send me these, and my wife gets on me because I'll have to play catch-up Snapchat reviewing. Every week, I just binge Snapwatch.
Okay.
I have a hard time in real time because it's another...
Don't they disappear after a certain time?
No, I don't know these.
They don't disappear, but if you click on it or if you send a text and don't save it, then it will disappear. So I'll get on here, I'll snap someone, and then it'll go.
So away. My daughter Shannon's little 9-year-old, now her husband is the Special Forces guy. They're going to be moving a little closer to Clarksville, Tennessee. I can't
heard
wait.
that because when I was in Nashville, she sent me a message and said she's lucky.
Just like an hour away,
lovely.
I think, from Nashville.
Fort Campbell.
Depending on traffic, but yeah.
So Fort Campbell's in Kentucky, but they're going to be living in Tennessee. They're right over the border. I don't know.
Yep.
At any rate, so little Shepherd, the 9-month-old, is to the point when he wants something, and he's a chow hound. He'll scream, ah! Ah! Okay, so I got this snap of repetitive. I mean, it went on and on with the extended snaps with her husband. Trace is basically teaching him sign language. So is that
we did that.
Claps? More is this? Well, okay, so he doesn't do this, but it's like a clap kind of a thing.
You kind of pinch your fingers together and do this.
And I mean, the boy kept screaming and screaming, and finally, the 10th snap, he did it, and he did that.
I have so many videos of my kids, and they were chunks, so chubby cheeks, and I have one of Amelia, and she's got avocado, and she's just frantically signing more.
Yeah, that's what he's doing. It's close to a sign. It looks like a clap, but it's hilarious. And Tracy didn't give in. He just kept up with it. I remember those days, and I feel for all you parents out there trying to teach your kids how to do the right thing. It's tough. Kids are strong-willed, and it's tough duty.
Well, and
it is tough duty.
I think for a lot of us, we had a good schedule going, and we're able to limit screen time, and then we roll into COVID, and we're expected to work and teach and keep going. And so at that point, it was screens for everybody because I gotta do my job, and you're sitting in my living room, and I don't know what else. I don't know what to, and I can't give you to grandma and grandpa because they're high risk. We're just trying to survive, and so trying to dial that back after that season has been really difficult. I think it's tough on parents. I think the one I find the most difficult, and anyone who knows me will know this, is the setting a good example, right? Mm-hmm. It's tough, especially now that you use your phone for work, and then you've got social media and you use it to stay connected. I find it tough to just set my phone down.
I took a couple opportunities at the farm this week to just leave my phone on the table and go out and do some stuff, and it's weird. I mean, you hate to admit it, but it's true. I mean, I just went out to mow and check the beans and do some other stuff. And
what happens when you're in the back 40 and a tree falls on you and your phone is sitting in the living room?
Well, that's right. And that's when I went back and got it. I figured, there is such value to that at the same time you have to be wise about it. There's several things happening, though, with young people. It's interesting. We've covered the story a couple of times of how Generation Z and the millennials beginning to realize there's hazard to this, and they're beginning to self-regulate. It's a great thing.
Oh, and they're beginning to shame you as well, because my middle daughter especially will be like, Mom, get off your phone, and that makes me feel even more
Really?
guilty. Oh yeah.
Oh my.
Oh yeah. And she doesn't have a phone yet, so I think she's like a little bit cranky
envy,
about it.
yeah.
My son won't say that to me because he has a phone, and if he says it to me, I'll be like, hand over your phone. But they're, but I think they know that it is a problem and can be a problem, and I think it's helpful that sometimes when I am too much in my phone, they're like, Mom, put it down. And so again, I think setting a good example is probably the best way we can do it, and it's tough.
Wow. Yeah,
it becomes your business PC a lot of times for folks, doesn't it, Steph?
Oh yeah, I can do a lot from my phone, but yeah, and especially when you're in a job like Randy or my job where it's basically 24/7, it's hard to explain to people, like, I'm not all. Sometimes a lot of times I'm scrolling social media, but sometimes I'm not. Sometimes I am working, and so kind of setting those.
Well, and it actually happened. I mean, that's where I was tempered with that. It was about, I don't know, a couple hours I was without the phone. And by golly, yesterday, a patient texted us, and it wasn't anything emergent, but I was like, oh man, you just can't. It's become just, they've become necessities. They're almost like an appendage now. And it's just a matter of when it's on you, trying to somehow being able to consciously, intentionally separate yourself from being in your phone. You know what I mean by that?
Yeah, I think meal times are a really good time to just agree that everyone puts the phone down.
Yep.
But with kids' sports, good luck getting everyone around the table at the same time.
Good advice. Good advice there to try to limit it however you can find your way to do that. John, what's in your unlimited section coming up?
Well, when you go to the produce section, the avocado aisle, how expensive is too expensive?
Oh, we'll be back in a little while. Let us see what comes up then.
This is Wake Up Missouri.
after the customer accidentally overcharged himself for avocados at the self-checkout, then accused the store of robbing him. As Laura Archivist told the story on Reddit, the man came up with a bunch of stuff and claimed an item on the shelf that was priced at $9.99 was showing up at the register as $19.99. Walmart team leader was able to get it fixed, but then he had avocados. They said, I guess he accidentally hit $999 instead of $9 that he'd intended, and his total jump to $1,300. That's when the customer freaked out and started yelling. He was calling the cops because Walmart was robbing him. The cops showed up. The guy created a whole circus and then shows everyone the self-checkout screen, again claiming that Walmart is robbing him. Cops put him in handcuffs and took him outside and was warned that he needed to leave or he would be arrested for trespassing, but he refused to go unless Walmart compensated him for pain and suffering and distress.
Oh, my.
And now you
Pain
know
and
the rest
suffering.
of that story.
Oh, my Lord.
In
Come on.
guac we trust, right?
Get over it, dude. My goodness. So he punched in the wrong number.
Yeah, he punched in. He had 9 avocados, but he punched in $9.99 avocados.
Whoops.
They're expensive enough as it goes.
This is why I hate the self-checkout, and I try not to use it.
But it's quicker.
No, it's not.
No?
No.
It's autonomous. I mean, I like it. It gives you autonomy. It gives you control. I like that. No?
Sometimes it's hard to get the thing to scan. I use it all the time, but boy, it sometimes takes 2 or 3 passes trying to get it to scan on you.
I like the scan gun. That's
and
the
then
best.
Inevitably, there's a problem, and then you have to wait for someone to come over, and it's just, no, it's not for me.
I sort of like it normally when I go to a regular checker, of course, I never get carded. But when you're in the self-checkout and you check out booze, they got to card you. It's fun.
There you go.
I like that, you know?
I'm waiting for the...
Are you 21? No.
No, really.
Yeah, right? I mean, that's the problem.
I'm prematurely
it's like
great.
I'm always buying booze or something else, and they're always like, oh, I don't know what or like they can't find something, or you need like a bag of ice, and it's like, where do you find that in this whole thing?
Some of the crazy things that you need to get approval for. I mean, things... like a butane lighter or whatever. I mean, it's weird stuff.
Yeah, butane, yeah.
What's that all about?
BBs.
What?
BBs for BB guns.
Yeah, BBs, yeah.
Well, I know I do this a lot. Like if you're buying something, like more than one thing, if you're buying 5, let's say picture frames, I like to scan them like one frame 5 times, and normally that works. But they have a system now where they can see you take something from your cart and put it directly into the bag, and it'll flag it. Show the recording of you taking something and say that you're trying to steal in a shop. Like one of the people has to come over and approve you before you can.
So in other words, if you have 5 jars of olives,
you have to scan each one.
You have to scan each one and put each one in the bag separately. You can't just go tick 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 and then
Well, I mean, you can. The Walmart associate will come over and see, but I mean You can't really shoplift like that. I mean, scan 5 but take 6 or whatever.
I've never understood why retailers went to self-checkout. I mean, it is an absolute open season for shoplifting as far as...
Initially, it was an opportunity to have less paid staff.
And I think they've gotten better at how to handle the shoplifting issue. I will say at the private membership club, like with the gun where you don't have to take things out of your cart, I love...
Scan and go.
I love that.
Yeah.
I will do that every time.
It's too easy to spend money there. At the exclusive membership club.
It very much is. Yeah. And then I would say the other thing, and I don't know why they haven't adopted this technology yet. I've seen it in clothing stores, but essentially like you get all your stuff together and then there's just like a bin. You throw it all in and it just says, whoop, that's your price. You don't scan anything. It just like RFID knows what you have.
Really?
It's if they get that at the grocery store, I'm...
Oh, but you got to have the fancy tags.
I don't know. I feel like they could figure it out.
Hey, when we come back, let's talk to an retired Army captain about how he feels about maybe going into combat in an urban setting. That coming up at 8:08.
Missouri, with Stephanie Bell, the Zimmer News Team, and your host, Randy Tobler.
Awful assembly. I believe that the LAPD has this underhand, and they are very, very experienced in riot control. So this is something that they can handle. We do not have to have the National Guard here. We certainly do not have to have the Marines here. This is a manufactured crisis.
Yes, manufactured by the left, who endorses rioters going after police officers, throwing bricks and concrete blocks at their cars, obstructing Customs and Border agents and ICE officials from doing their job. That's Representative Judy Chu, Democrat from California. Joining us now, Douglas Ernest, and he is an author, a patriot, and also owns Corbett Warehouse. Oh, yeah. And he's a retired Army captain, served in Desert Storm. He joins us now to talk about military and urban settings. How you doing, Douglas? Thank you for being with us.
Doing great, Randy. Thanks for having me on this morning.
So there's been a lot said about this, all the way from does Trump have the authority, and is it really escalating things when you try to regain the peace when the locals won't do it? But as a military guy, what say you about training or lack thereof for National Guardsmen, Marines, Army people, whoever, that might be brought into an urban unrest setting? Good, bad? What do you say?
Maybe, somewhere in between, but something definitely needed. As we've watched these democratic cities over the past 20, 30 years, when they have a conflict, they just let them burn down. They let them destroy themselves from within. But there's a different layer of something going on right here, and that's we have federal workers, these ICE agents that dedicate their lives and put themselves and their well-being on the line to be able to do well.
And we do not.
And we got to make sure that we protect them when they're allowing these civil unrest these people to just destroy, resources, destroy buildings, and then to plummet our people and throw objects at them, and then nothing's done about it. That's something that just has to be stopped, because there's one thing when you're doing this to the local area, but when you're assaulting federal officers, that's a big no. That's a game changer right there. So we can see President Trump didn't waste any time. They immediately deployed the National Guard because California did not do so, and they put an end to it. But once again, the extremists on the left try to diminish their craziness and then try to, put it on the Trump that he's an extremist. So very, very sad state of affairs for California when these federal workers are trying to do their job, trying to do something that's good for our nation. It's not like they're going to get grandma at the house and take her home. They're arresting gang members, pedophiles, criminals, rapists, murderers, and trying to bring them to justice and deport them from our country. And the California politicians are more concerned about these gang members and these violent offenders than they are about the American people.
Talk to us about posse comitatus, because I think there's a lot of confusion out there about what the National Guard can do in this kind of a situation and what the active military can't.
Well, there's two distinctions for the military, and that's the active duty military is not allowed to police and to, control our citizens, because that's something that was developed in our Constitution, 250 years ago, that we won't have federal troops, uprising and taking force against our citizens. So that was developed in our Constitution, but as the time progressed, we were allowed to have National Guard troops protect our country, and it's used during civil unrest, times of need. You'll see if you have a hurricane come up. I was mobilized back in 2003 era for Hurricane Katrina, and you'll see the National Guard come to the aid of the American citizens when they need to do so in their state, but they're done only in a small fraction, not on a major level. The reason that this is done like this is that you won't have an uprising at the federal level to push down a state level problem. That was in place 250 years ago, and you would never think our country would be so torn apart that you'd have California standing behind gang members and, illegal aliens that are here and being convicted of heinous crimes, and that the government's trying to protect them. So there's this distinction of keeping these two separate. right now we do have the National Guard on the ground, which is a good thing. It's going to try to release that tension so that they can disband some of these really bad people that are out there causing a lot of harm, inflicting, damage, collateral damage on the federal workers, these ICE agents that work so hard, and stopping the destruction, which could be billions of dollars. From now, it's in the tens of millions of dollars from destroying this building, but it could be billions of dollars if you let them roam free and destroy. And right now, we're just in for hopefully the next couple of days will simmer down. People, just let common sense take a back seat and let people do their job and let people get the job done out there so we can have a better country.
That's retired Army Captain Douglas Ernest, author of the book, The Spirit of a True Patriot. Gets 5 stars on Amazon. And I understand all the proceeds from your book, all of the profits and royalties go to veterans charities.
Yes, that's correct. I wrote the book. It's a story about my life in the military. I joined the military at the age of 17 years old, and I spent 20 years serving our country as an infantryman and as an armor officer. And when I got out, I just kind of void in my life. I didn't know what to do with myself. I was kind of lost and looking for directions. And I, too, was one of the persons that had been a beneficiary of veterans groups that had helped me when I had came back from the war. I had several mentors, Vietnam veterans that had mentored me and kind of helped me put myself back together after I was in Operation Desert Storm. So when I got out, I went to college and I got my degree in MBA and got a master's degree in management science. And I decided to write a book, something I could put my story together and pass it on. And I wanted to find that way, my recipe to give something back. And that's through writing this book and using the proceeds to donate to veterans, because these veterans groups need a lot of money. They don't have enough resources in the government to take care of all these sisters and brothers of ours that need a helping hand. So if I can do a little bit and my fellow citizens can do a little bit, we can really help these people that need that hand.
You can check out more about Douglas at douglasernest.com. As I think of your story, and it is an inspirational one, you were in the foxhole domestically as a civil return from war citizen, right? I mean, you were struggling. And I think a lot of our young people, particularly young men that have really struggled, they're for many reasons, they're the ones that Jordan Peterson is talking to these days, right? And but your story is an interesting one because you turned a love of Corvettes into a business, but it took a lot of risk and a lot of courage along the way.
Yeah, it was something that I had, I never would have imagined 30 years later that I'd be in the position I am now to have 200 Corvettes for sale and to have, have the largest Corvette dealership in the Southwest. But it was something that I set out to do as a hobby, and then later it becomes something I really enjoyed. And then I applied the strategies and the tactics and the techniques that I learned in the military from my leaders and applied that to my civilian life, and I applied it to my business world. And I started using these tactics and taking care of yourself, taking care of your mind, using strategy, using your relationships with people to be able to grow my business. And I didn't really understand what I was doing. I just did it, because these techniques and strategies were ingrained into my mind from my military training. And I write about that in the book, about how you can use these strategies and tactics from being in the military to enhance your life, to make yourself better, to work on your business, or even become a better family person. But for me, it was using my military training and then bridging that gap between my civilian world and bringing those two together so that I could develop a business and do something I really enjoy.
We're talking to Douglas Ernest, retired Army captain. What do you think of Pete Hegseth as SecDef, and what do you think of the recruiting turnaround that's happened in just a few short months?
Well, I'm a big fan of Pete Hegseth, and I've done hundreds of these interviews over the last couple of years to promote the book and, to be able to visit with people and give my view and my perspective of what's going on with our country, especially with the craziness we saw in the last 4 years underneath the Biden administration. I'm a huge fan of Pete Hegseth because I am a warrior just like him. He is the same cut as me, Douglas Ernest. He was a captain. He was a major. He served in the Army. He served in 3 conflicts. And he was someone that they put in this position that you couldn't have a better pick. He's the quintessential warrior to lead our nation's forces. And that is because this man is very, very well respected and connected to the lower ranks of the military. By lower ranks, I don't say that in a diminishing way. I say that, but those kids, those 18 to 24-year-olds that join the military that are the privates, the specialists, the sergeants, those people in the trenches doing the hard work every day, not the people at the Pentagon, not the people at the federal buildings that work in these offices, but these people that are out in the field all around the globe doing the job day in and day out to protect our country. He connects with those people, and those people love him. They respect him because he was one of those people. And then there's another side to Pete Hegseth that makes him the perfect person to do this job, and that his ability to speak to the masses. He's a best-selling New York Times author of 6 great books. He's a Fox News communicator. He's a Fox News contributor. He's actually been someone that can speak to the masses. He can get on stage and speak to millions of people, get the point across in a short period of time, and he's able to bridge this gap and bring these two people together. He brings these people that are traveling the globe and out working in the trenches, working their tail off, and then he talks to mom and dad and grandma and grandpa sitting in their living room couch, and he's able to put these people together, explain to them what's going on, explain to them where we're at and where we need to go. And that's something you don't find in most leaders, especially the leaders like the previous Austin that was in there doing that job, that really didn't have a clue what he was doing, didn't know how to connect to people, and did an awful job and just embarrassed us around the globe.
Yep. Well, whether it's Trump putting the hammer down on public safety in L.A. or Pete Hegseth making it clear that, the basic mission of defending this country, we're getting back to nuts and bolts. Thanks so much for being with us, Douglas Ernest. Appreciate it. Thanks for your service.
God bless you and all your listeners out there, and we appreciate your time this morning.
Thanks for your service. All right, there he is, Douglas Ernest. What's coming up with the market report, Stephanie?
It was a good day on Friday, and we're going to talk new NCAA rules. Federal court did something interesting Friday.
Oh, boy. Okay, Drake's pumped up.
All right.
Drake's pumped about this. We'll have to listen when we tune in with the morning bell at 8:25.
You're listening to Wake Up
Monday morning bell there. Stephanie, what's going on in the markets?
It was truly a feel-good Friday with the markets up on Friday. The Dow was up 1.05%, NASDAQ up 1.20%, S&P on the bottom but still with an increase at 1.03%. As we look at what was driving those gains, it was energy, communication services, and consumer discretionary. So we're hoping for another big day this morning. Everything is just slightly in the green this morning, but I think good. And of course, we know Trump and a bunch of officials with the Trump administration are going to London to talk with Chinese officials about trade. And so I'm sure if we get some announcements out today, that could impact, because what we know is what's been driving a lot of the market volatility is the tariff on and then off again. So we will have a report about that, I'm sure, tomorrow. I know whenever I try to talk about sports, it's a little bit dangerous, but this is a big deal, and it does involve the courts. So I feel like we've got to go there. Drake is going to help me out a little bit. But Friday, we got a new set. Well, it's been talked about for a while. The judge checked off on a settlement involving the NIL funding and paying college athletes, I guess. So they say it's been going on for about 5 years. Some collegiate athletes sued and said, hey, we need to recover for our lost revenue opportunities. They finally reached a deal, and this allows the NCAA to essentially pay the athletes directly. So each participating D1 school gets a salary cap. That sounds like the NFL, right?
Yeah.
It sets a $20.5 million cap for the upcoming academic year, and that will increase over time. It doesn't specify which sport gets how much money, but I think we probably know which sports.
Across all sports, like maybe $25 million, they have to somehow...
$20.5 million. Yeah.
20. So the University of Missouri can spend $20 million to buy talent. Is that what I'm hearing?
Yes.
And so can
but I don't think
Ohio State, and so can
I'm not
everyone
sure
else.
we're buying swimmers, right? We're probably buying football and basketball players, I assume. And I wonder, between men and women, I don't know what the breakdown is.
I want to make a request for some purchase of some talented curlers. I want the curling team to be
perfect.
Can we hire talented curling people?
In addition, this settlement also allows for $2.8 billion to be paid out to athletes who competed in the pre-NIL era and were saying that they lost the opportunity for
reparations.
Revenue, basically,
we're doing reparations now with NIL. This is craziness.
The other thing is, apparently, the school will have roster limits for each sport, and that's part of this deal. And that means that if you were on partial scholarship or you were a walk-on, probably in years past, that's probably a no-go, because they're going to have a hard roster limit. So,
yeah, it's basically the NC2A's version of the salary cap.
I think that's right. So they said it could affect Olympic athletes, because before, you could go to the Olympics and you get paid if you get gold, bronze, silver, and you can get all these sponsorship deals. So a lot of collegiate athletes would opt into the Olympics because they wanted the money. Why would you do that? Because you can get some big bucks just playing at your college. So it's interesting.
This is so wrong.
You think it's wrong?
This is so wrong.
I guess Michigan quarterback Bryce Underwood, his NIL deal is reportedly worth between $10 and $12 million. So some people are going to get a pretty big paycheck. Now the salary or the roster limit, apparently there's some sort of savings grandfather clause that if you had previously had a deal at another school and you're going to now get cut because of this roster limit, you get the opportunity to go back to your other school, because people are well, now with this roster limit, it's going to affect me. So there's some sort of people who are kind of hung up in that get a special deal. But
what about the portal? Does this affect the portal at all, or can people now just go and be free agent year after year and sell to the highest bidder?
This doesn't affect at all the transfer portal.
So now it'll just be I can market myself to the highest bidder.
Yes.
Yeah.
That's the way it's really been in college athletics. I mean, back in the day, they didn't give them money, but they sure slipped them a Trans Am or help mom with a house and all that. So that's been the big debate on this for years and years.
573-874-9390. We've talked about a lot of what GLP-1s can do, Ozempic and Mounjaro. Well, there's an interesting side effect that might fascinate you when we come back at 8:35. Tell your kids to spend a little time on the screen while you hear this. Do that.
Has America been fair to Donald Trump?
Welcome back into Wake Up Missouri. Now, there's an interesting story about these GLP-1s that have become just so popular. I mean, both for diabetic control, they've become really sort of first-line go-to agents. And then, of course, weight loss. We know how we hear about celebrities being on them. A study out of Washington University talked about how, and it's becoming more and more known, that these drugs are also associated with benefits to neurological and behavioral health, like reduced risks of seizures and addiction to substances such as alcohol, cannabis, stimulants, opioids. There may be a reduction in suicidal thoughts and self-harm and bulimia and schizophrenia. I mean, maybe even dementia. I mean, it's amazing how these things are transformational, at least thus far. Now, we don't know if 10 years from now everyone's going to, just crumble. I don't think so. We've had pretty good experience now.
Well, it does have a bad effect on bone density or like muscle.
Well, muscle, yeah. I mean, you can lose muscle mass, right? So you have to watch out for that. But the New York, I heard Jennifer Bukowski brought something up that I wasn't going to really talk about, but I figure if Jen can talk about it, we can talk about it here on Wake Up Missouri, right?
Not this.
The New York Post is reporting, men are reporting that there's another
side effect.
Another side effect, or shall we say down under front effect. And I'm not talking about Australia. So I wonder, are gals going to be asking their guys who are normal weight to be on GLP-1s, Stephanie?
Or the guy's going to be like bootlegging it because they think it's some magic drug.
You know, one of the reasons that people get addicted or one of the mechanisms that people have for diverting opioids and accessing them is one of the most common reasons is accessing other people's pills. Like, hey, I've got a Percocet, you got a back pain, I've got a benzo, you having a hard time sleeping, take this.
Suddenly the man's in the bathroom injecting the wife's GLP.
Yeah, I'm wondering if suddenly, but wait a minute, I got four pens of Ozempic from the pharmacy, dear husband. Where'd the other one go? Well, I don't know. It's date night. I don't know.
Is it like, they say you gain the weight back right after you stop it. Is this a lifetime enhancement does it go
okay,
back?
guys are claiming that there's an enhancement of a particular part of their body. Okay. I think it really has to do with a diminution of their of their fat that lies behind that part.
That's scientific, right?
I'm always scientific. I am science.
But if
and Fauci.
But that's been a thing. Like if you have too much weight on your body,
right. Yeah. It what? Stephanie, would you explain?
No, thank you. No, so you think it's just people getting skinnier?
Yeah,
so
people are getting skinnier.
I mean, like they say, like build up your shoulders and your waist looks smaller, right? Like that's what they advise for women. Get a bigger booty and a bigger shoulders, and you get that hourglass figure. Mm-hmm. So you're just saying, like comparatively, when you get a little bit skinnier, maybe it's not. Maybe it just feels like you're.
There's a little fatty area down there, and if it gets smaller, other things in context may appear different.
All of a sudden, I wonder, like, where are these people's stocks this morning? Because I wonder, like, this news breaks over the weekend, and all of a sudden, everyone's like calling their doctor this morning. I bet this is a marketing ploy by those companies. That's what I'm going to suggest, that we're all being tricked, and they're hey.
You never know.
Because GLP was really hot there for a bit, and then I think for some people it works really well. Other people, they're like, the price just isn't worth, what I'm putting my body through. Yeah. And so I think people are kind of cooling down on the GLP. And so I think right now...
There are non-responders too.
Yeah. If you're the GLP companies, you're like, how can we get that boost back? And they're like, I know. We'll tell people.
Yeah.
I'm just saying.
This might inject some new demand and, pump up the demand. You never know.
Oh, I don't want to.
Or you could just start using the metric system and then
Yikes.
Oh, it's like fishing stories, right? I don't know. I think a lot of gals,
This big.
on a serious note, you said during the break, you
can't repeat what I said during the break. That's off limits.
No, but I wonder why.
I said I think men care about it more than women.
That's right. That's what I mean.
That's fair.
And I think it's true. Guys get really hung up on that. Did I say that? And I didn't mean to. And
good,
and women are like, "What are you guys worried about? What are you talking about?" And it's an interesting thing.
It's a locker room thing.
Yeah, it's
right?
a locker room thing. Yeah, I think so.
The captain maybe say a barracks thing.
Yeah.
Yikes.
Oh well. So but
Does
you know
it have
what?
any effect on women? Doesn't
In what way?
I don't know. Doesn't make your
theoretically
chest saggy or something,
I
does
think
it?
that
Your butt go away or something.
Yeah. Hey, we talked about you were celebrating big butts before.
Well, yeah. I mean, it does affect your muscle
Yeah.
mass.
And
so-
I am truly concerned, on a serious note, I am concerned about the loss of muscle mass. That's why we really, when we work with patients that are using these, we're really, we don't tend to hound our patients, but we really do twist their arm about really emphasizing resistance training, good quality protein intake. Make sure you're keeping your muscle bulk up, because there's no way you can, realistically, you can't diet yourself more than maybe a pound a week, probably half or 3/4 of true fat mass loss. So if you're losing 2 pounds a week on this stuff, or a pound and a half, some of that's muscle. I mean, that's lean mass.
My biggest conversation with my doctor is she's like, if you do nothing else, lift your legs, because you've got the biggest muscles in your lower half.
Right.
And so make sure because that raises your basal metabolic rate.
Yep.
So you can eat more calories if you have more muscle on your body. And so I told her when I haven't been working out with a trainer lately, but when I was, I was like, let's do legs. And she's like, I'm so glad you want to do that. And I'm like, I just want to eat more tacos. And my doctor said I can eat more tacos if I have better muscle mass in my
I
legs.
do worry, too, about the loss of core muscle mass, because especially if people are using this in their, 50 plus, and you wonder if that's not recovered at some time in the future, particularly if you end up, a lot of people are doing microdosing, where once they get to their goal weight, they sort of use it as a appetite suppressant. After 10, 12, 14 days, they'll do a little squirt, and just when they start getting that craving,
Mm-hmm.
But I'm wondering if they don't regain what muscle mass they may have lost. It's the core muscles that ultimately help prevent falls and keep you, when you trip, from actually falling, and breaking a hip or a spine, or some other bone or a leg. So I worry about that.
But I think it could be used as a reset. I mean, anybody, I love a week-long sprint of I have a program that I use that you go on for 5 days, and it's really serious dieting. But I think it works because you kind of lose some of those cravings for sugar or soda or whatever else. And I think that could be helpful. I think I do worry that we're still kind of experimenting with this stuff, and I don't know that we know the long-term implications, but everything right now is pointing to greatness.
Yeah, I think the net for most people is very good. There are people that really need to watch it, and I think that risk of pancreatitis, which can be a tremendously grave disease, and it can even be fatal, is one that is lost on people. And I think particularly if you drink a lot, that's a risk for pancreatitis. If you have high triglycerides, there's things that set you up for that. And so talk with your doctor before you just, go online and get some telehealth prescription for this stuff.
Does it matter where you inject it? Because I've seen lots of people on social media that are it totally matters.
They say that the FDA approved and the company recommends primarily in your belly, where a lot of people give their insulin. But I've had more patients are having more success with thigh injections. Just pinch the skin on your thigh and do it that way. It's funny how people get freaked out over learning to do that. And it's when they come in for their first injection, I'll do it with saline for myself. Just, hey, here it is. Boop. No big deal. But people get really weirded about that.
There are a lot of people who don't like needles. I mean, it's
just you don't even know. It doesn't even, it's like a little tiny, you can hardly see the needle. It's so tiny, so tiny.
I mean, it feels, for people who aren't doctors, injecting yourself.
Well, if you pinch your skin.
Or drug users feel.
But if you pinch the skin long enough, it actually goes numb. Just pinch it for a good, 15, 20 seconds.
That also sounds
That's what you're supposed to do when you vaccinate the dog.
Right, you don't feel a thing. You don't feel a thing. Really. Trust me, I'm a doctor.
And he plays one on the radio.
Hey, really, it is life-changing for many people. For instance, a lot of patients who can't, they have this catch-22. They want to exercise, but they're so heavy that they can't exercise. So as they start to lose weight, okay, I can take a walk around the block. Maybe I'll take a longer walk. Maybe I'll even do a little faster walk, and then things start to, it compounds on itself.
That's
so,
nice.
yeah, it's good. Compounded interest in exercise. That's the way we call it. Hey, what about a zebra in the neighborhood? Did you hear about that one? Stephanie will report on that when we come back on Wake Up Missouri. Stay tuned.
This is Wake
we're back on Wake Up Missouri, and I saw this interesting post. Stephanie, you brought it to my attention. You were in Nashville over the weekend.
I was.
Right?
Yes. And
there was a story that I wouldn't say it was eclipsing the concert you were at, but it was the talk of the town, huh?
It was apparently amongst all the townies that Ed the zebra had gotten loose about a week before, and they were still looking for him. And so there was kind of this question, so everyone assumes that the zebra escaped from the zoo. Apparently not, just from like someone's house. Someone had a zebra.
Can you have a zebra without some kind of a special exotic animal license?
I don't know.
Drake, you have emus, don't you? Or no, you want to get an emu.
An emu, yeah. So those are considered livestock. A lot of those animals are considered, I don't know what the specific term, if it's exotic or whatever, but there are a lot. It's not as hard to get one of those licenses if you have the facilities.
Really? Yeah.
Or if it's a rescue or whatever, it's not as hard, but you can definitely get.
It looked like sort of a Hollywood scene, with the zebra running through a suburban
neighborhood. And people are like, well, it's not exactly like you see the zebra and you're like, there he is, right? But so people were capturing them on their Ring doorbell cameras, and eventually he got a little bit outside of town, and they were still trying to track him. So as of like Saturday morning, they're like, Ed's still on the loose. But I got an update yesterday morning. So they called in some folks from Texas, I think some real cowboys, right? And said, hey, we need y'all's help to come
catch rounded him up.
This zebra. And they caught him, and they thought they were going to have to tranquilize him. And, of course, there are lots of people who are like, don't tranquilize this zebra. Anyway, they dropped a net on him and didn't have to tranquilize him. And then they lifted him up with a helicopter, and he just looks like, so if you Google it, you can see it. He's just chilling, like sitting up in a big net.
So he's like cradled in a big net there.
Helicopter.
And he's like hanging out.
But
taking in the scenery.
It was funny because this is on the heels of former producer Hannah was tweeting out about how there was a bear on the loose, I think, in Centralia, and that people have been watching out. I guess they've been telling folks, hey, be on the lookout.
And they spotted one last week just north of Kingdom City in Callaway County.
And we've had that a couple of times. We had one in Ashland a couple of years ago, and he was, if you had any food out or what, he was on all sorts of cameras and rummaging around. So
I didn't know we had bears around here.
Oh, yeah. For sure.
We had one a number of years ago when we lived out in southern Cole County, came across our property because we found the tracks and all.
Wow.
And then the neighbors saw him.
Was it brown bear? Black bear?
According to the Missouri Department of Conservation, Missouri is home to roughly 1,000 black bears.
Wow.
Most of them are in the southern part of the
state.
That's
what I thought.
But occasionally they creep up here.
Huh. And they can be vicious, right? What do you do if you're
they're generally pretty spooked.
And they're just hungry, usually. They're looking for
Don't leave the dog food out where they can get to it.
Okay. Yeah, but what if you're out for a picnic and you have a bologna sandwich or something, and then the bear's hungry? That's not working out real well. There's some bears that you're
supposed to get really big, and some bears you're supposed to get small, right?
Yeah, black bears, you stand up big, you fight back. Brown bears, you lie down and
are eaten.
According to the Centralia, Missouri Police Department, they said keep a close eye on your pets and children. Do not attempt to approach, feed, or pet the bear under any circumstances. If you see the bear or any other suspicious wildlife activity like a loose zebra, I added that part.
Isn't that
call the Centralia? Call the Centralia Police Dispatch at 311. So.
That's something. Well, speaking of bears, listen to this bear.
Hip, hop, you don't stop, rock it to the bang bang boogie, so up jump the boogie to the rhythm of the boogie to beat. Scooby-Doo, that's right, America, we love you, and we rock and roll to the summer sun. We can rock to 101 years old. I don't mean to brag, I don't mean to boast, but I like hot butter on my breakfast toast. Rock it out, baby bubba.
Now, that's Brett Baer.
No way.
From Special Report.
No way.
That is Brett Baer, B-A-I-E-R.
Oh, my goodness.
Rapping to some Sugar Hill Gang tune. Is that right?
Oh, yeah. That's original OG hip-hop.
Little segue
there.
from bear to bear. I don't know. What do you think of that?
Is he wearing a tan suit?
And he looks like he's got sort of a little, I don't know, like he's at the Hawaiian luau kind of a suit. I don't know, something.
I had no idea.
Bang, bang, the boogie to the beat, so unique. Come on, everybody, dance your feet. One long lane of dark afternoon, we're Reporter stopped me for an interview. She said she's heard stories and she's heard papers. Vicious on the mic and the turntables.
Now, I gotta say, that's talent. I mean, that is something. And he's not reading off of a teleprompter. I mean, he's got it all memorized.
The Bang Bang Boogie from Rapper's Delight by Sugar Hill.
Isn't that something?
What's he going to cover next? Apache? I mean, that was their other.
Where
was he during,
love with you. Cast over legend must have been true. I said, by the way, baby, what's your name?
Where was he during the campaign? I feel like he could have,
Yeah, but he's a journalist.
I mean,
he wouldn't do it. I'm sure he
on.
wouldn't. Yeah.
Or at least before a debate. I mean, that could have.
Maybe. Now that's it. He ought to open
it.
Someone posted this and said he should open every show like this.
Right? Wow.
What is it he says at the end of every special report?
Do you have any special talents you've been hiding from us, Randy?
It ain't going to be rap. Hey, well, I do have a talent that I used in the previous life. Used to play at the Muni Opera in St. Louis and in the pit orchestra. They won a regional theater award from the Tonys.
Wonderful.
Yeah. And
I forgot that was this weekend, right?
Every performance, they have 1,500 free seats that you can sit in the free seats there. It's a neat thing. They have Frozen there this year, but we have a great, in mid-Missouri, there's Lyceum, and there's up in Macon, the Maples Repertory. Hey, that'll wrap it up for this edition of Wake Up Missouri. Hope you'll join us tomorrow. We'll see what's up then. Have a great day.
Bye.